Hi, hello. Let's see closer. Welcome back to my question and answer session this week. What I've been up to this week, I've been co-leading, though taking quite a background supportive role in a festival here at Osho Lila called the May Love Festival. It's like a kind of people, and I led a quite full-on bioenergetic session in the middle of it, which curiously went down because there's quite a few people who are a little bit old in it. I was thinking, shit, I can't really, lay it on these guys. They're like in their 60s and 70s, some of them. And then I thought, no, I explained it all, and they're really up for it. So I was really impressed. I got people doing some heavy bioenergetic shit for a while, and then a lot of them came up to me later in the day or the next day and were really, really happy about where it went, getting turned on to bioenergetics. 70s and 80s. There was a lot of bioenergetics around, at that time in the Osho scene, because it was a big body-based therapy. So some of these guys, they didn't do it for 40 years, and they come to the session and go for it. I can only applaud that. It's awesome to see. And in my own practice at the moment, I'm doing a lot each morning, still with the belly, but also moving into a lot of shoulder work, and I'm developing some new shoulder postures also with the guys. I teach regularly here at the Lila Center, so I'm going to do a video about that soon with a ton more shoulder stuff in it, because there is so much that's in the shoulders, not just the classic stuff, which is taking too much responsibility, feeling the weight of the world, all of this kind of thing, but also self-esteem. It's like a lot around the shoulders, a lot of heart-centered stuff, feeling open to be with people, to listen to them, to receive them, to speak your truth. Well, speaking of truth is a little bit more gut, but there's a lot around the shoulders which opens here and gives you a natural openness where you can be with people. So I'm really getting into this shoulder work, and I feel for myself in my own developmental journey, it's kind of like the missing, the thing I never really worked on to the depth that I need to work on it. So that's how it feels right now. I became aware of that, I guess, about a year ago. I just thought, what? I've still got block here. I can feel it, and I need to keep working on it. So, that's been a bit my focus for the last 6 months, certainly. And working intuitively as well. I just uploaded a video about intuition, and it's important that you develop your own intuition, because it's a much, if not maligned, then much underused capacity that we have, and men in particular don't use it anywhere near enough to develop themselves. Your body can communicate with you. It doesn't all have to come from the objective mind, the frontal lobes. It doesn't all have to come from there. There's an old part of the body, and even a lot of your bodily organs have got some level of neural capacity. Even if you look at it really scientifically, they've got stuff to tell you, and it can really help, to tune in, listen to your body, feel your body, and see what messages it's got for you. Maybe when one part of your body is really, where something is not working with it, maybe one of your legs. I often get stuff in my ankle, and it's so great just to be able to just sit and ask it what's going on, and just listen for any reply, and not straight away kind of dismiss it from the objective mind, but to use that reply, whatever it is, as the start of a thread that can unravel something, that can take you deeper. This is important. This is very important stuff. Anyway, it's Q&A day, so I got a little bit cup of tea. I still got my hay fever quite bad. Been here in the countryside this time of year, so I'm off. I'm not drinking quite as much normal tea, and I got some kind of Tea Pigs detox tea today. I like my tea. I judge myself as being a right saddo when I say that. Anyway, if you've got a question, don't stand too much on ceremony, or whatever the expression is. Just be brave, put it out. I will always do my best to answer from my heart. And if I can't answer, I'll say I can't answer. If I need more info, I'll ask for more. And if you feel like it's not really a private setting to do it, you can always message me later or something like that on YouTube. Yeah. I'm off. Yeah, I got this hay fever, and then I'm off to a festival in 2 days' time, Colour Fest, on the other side of Dorset, where I'm running a few bioenergetic sessions in the mornings, And I'm just kind of a little bit, my mind's a little bit, is this really a good idea? Will my hay fever really be fucking me up? But mostly I find these days, if I keep my diet really clean, you know, really not too much dairy and pretty much off any form of stimulants or alcohol, then the hay fever's pretty much in the background. So hopefully I can be there for a few days and not be just confined to some, in my tent, sitting there waiting in the shade, waiting for it to end. Yeah, okay. So anyone watching with a question, feel free to just stick it out. That's what I'm here for. And otherwise I'll just keep chitter-chatting along about stuff that's going on in my life or stuff that I'm interested in. I guess I also see myself, you know, as I'm doing this, working around here with the body, it opens the heart up on quite a deep kind of energetic level. And you know, there's a kind of background mysticism that almost comes to my daily awareness. You know, for a lot of my life, I guess I was very hard, you know, I was very, very hard and very protective, very defensive, always keeping people at a distance. And then I've been through some layers of just, you know, in my therapeutic journey and journey with bioenergetics and different teachers, emotional opening to be able to access, you know, the feelings and the stories that lead to the feelings, stuff that's gone on in my life, the bad stuff that happened. And that goes on. And also there's like a kind of mystical side where, you know, there's almost a search for who is it that's really looking out, you know, who is it that's really there in the background looking, you know, where is this voice really coming from, you know. And that's a deep journey for me. That's a deep journey for anyone really, but that's a deep journey for me. And it's kind of exciting, and a little bit what I find is I make some progress for a while. Maybe I'm in a workshop or I'm running something or I'm in a very open space, and then if I'm not careful afterwards I get too much into working, too much being objective with my mind, and I kind of harden up areas of my body. So for a while I've been aware that I'm really kind of in and out of a good state. Hey Ligias, good to hear from you, man. So after doing bio for about 2.5 months, I definitely feel different. A part of me is saying, so maybe that was it. I don't know anymore. I don't need any more BS, right? How much can I expect from bio? You can expect the universe from bio. You can expect enlightenment from bioenergetics. So, you know, you can expect some form of cosmic consciousness from bioenergetics. And that is not bullshit. You can expect that and you can get that, you know. Because what you're doing is opening the body, you know. And even if you're into some mystical stuff, and I used to be into mystical stuff a bit, Christian mystical stuff like Gnostic Gospels or the, you know, last book of the Bible, the 7 cities which are in Asia, you know, the 7 energy centers, somatic centers also, or kind of psychic centers of the body. You know, bioenergetics starts to open the body up. We're opening up and we're letting the demons out. That's it, Book of Revelation. You know, we're letting all the stuff we've repressed out. And it will start on a personal level, but it goes deep. You know, it goes very, very deep. You know, so, you know, the question is, how long do you want to keep doing it? You know, how long do you want to keep going? So, you know, also, you know, check in that you're having a good time in life and that you're getting your needs met on a social level as well. You know, it's like, you know, the friendships, the lovers or lover, and, you know, that you feel fulfilled in your role. You know, it's good to ask your mind what you want from that and try and get a clear picture. And even if you don't have a clear picture, or even if you do have a clear picture, use the bioenergetics to keep clearing out the blocks in the body, so that your body slowly becomes like a yes, you know. The body via the kind of primate brain, the limbic brain, is programmed to try and pull you into the shit, you know. And because it wants to release it. It wants to release all that's been repressed. And what it knows is to try and pull you into the shit. And if you don't give it the release, you know, then it will keep dragging you down. On some level, it'll drag your self-image down, it'll drag your energy down, and you know, you have to give it the release. You know, you have to give it a release, and it's good to keep going. Picture's bad. Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know. I noticed earlier the signal, it kept saying it was like cutting out a bit, and I'm quite close. I changed my Wi-Fi around here, and I'm quite close to it. If it's still bad, just let me know. I could go and reset the server, but it'll take like 5 minutes to reboot or something like that. So I'm a little bit loath to do that. Yeah, cool, man. That's what I needed to hear. Yeah, that's it, man. You know, it's like, you know, what do you want and have you got it? You know, because this life somewhere is here for us to explore and understand our desire nature, so that we can go deeper, so that we can start to transcend, you know. And you can't really transcend anything until you've had experience, because without the experience, you don't really get into your stuff. And if you don't get into your stuff, you can't release your stuff. And if you can't release your stuff, somewhere your body will always pull you back to away from transcendence, away from really being clear. You know, it'll always pull you back. So it's always good to do stuff like any body-based therapy. Well, basically, you know, you're starting to really have a big insurance policy in your life. You know, you're going to feel your body more, which means it's much harder for you to hurt yourself, hurt your body or damage it, you know, or do something stupid. Even if it's, you know, you learn to take more responsibility, you know, because when you look at people who have accidents, often somewhere, if they really track back, they suddenly set it up for themselves. Even if they're like walking along the road and they can't see anything, and some builder drops a spanner and it whacks them on the foot and they break their foot, you know, and you'd think in that case, well, there was nothing I could do about that, you know, nothing I could do about that. Bullshit. You know, we have a lot of sensory capacity and potential for spatial awareness. You know, we can always, you know, learning to take more responsibility, learning to feel and really be inside our body is a huge insurance policy. The bad stuff doesn't happen in our life, and that we really get our needs met. You know, if we want a lot of good friends that we can rely on or just go out and have fun with, if we want lovers that we really feel turned on to, you know, and we're not being limited by some low self-esteem drama, you know, then basically, you know, this bio can go deep, and it's a lifelong thing. For me, I've only been really doing it heavy for 2 years, actually. You know, I started doing bioenergetics about the best part of 20 years ago, certainly 15, 16, 17 years ago. But I've only been really getting into it on a daily basis in the last 2 years, and it's still creating a lot of change in my life, and I expect that to continue. Awesome. Cheers, Danny. Pedro Benavides. Hey Dave, which bioenergetics exercise do you recommend for people with OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder? Essentially anything that's really grounding usually is good, I would guess. You know, you can share a little bit more if it's you about the OCD, what it's around. But usually it's basically, you know, OCD is a form of compulsive behavior that we're using to stem off some form of anxiety. You know, that's generally my experience as a therapist. And I don't want to give out, you know, pure clinical advice for obvious reasons, you know, not that I've ever been sued or anything, but, you know, I don't want it. So, but like basically, you know, there's usually some level of anxiety, and finally that's in the body, and that needs to be accessed and felt. So the deeper, you know, any bioenergetic exercise is going to help, but certainly the belly activation from my series on YouTube. And, you know, if it's not too much for you, if it's triggering a lot, then it's not so useful. You have to take it more gently. And the bow and the arch is good to regularly start to open and integrate repressed material, because it works a lot in the back, and the back is where, on a psychological level, 90% of the crap is. You know, the throat also needs to open. We hold a lot of certain kinds of stuff in the throat, and the gut is deep karmic kind of, you know, and personal power stuff. But the back has got a lot in it, and the bow and arch will open that up. So I would recommend, you know, that for OCD. You know, you need a kind of to slowly encounter and overcome anxiety on a bodily level. And what you can do, you know, say you start to do the bow and the arch, for check what's a comfortable time for you to be on your comfort zone. Some people can only do it for down for 20 seconds, up for 20 seconds. Maybe you can do 10 minutes down, 10 minutes up. Check that you've got the posture right, you know, take it slow, and then set yourself a little target to do it for a certain amount of time each day. Ideally early in the morning, but it doesn't have to be. And look in, can you complete it? At some point it'll start to bring up anxiety. Sometimes it brings it up within about 10 seconds. And, you know, you just try and breathe and feel your way through it, you know, without sending yourself over the edge. You keep yourself on the edge of your comfort zone. That's the way. Right on the edge. Not being too comfy and just slackening off all the time. And also not being like big sergeant major dad and demanding that you do it, you know, on the edge of your own personal comfort zone. Point of natural change. Over time, I would recommend that. I would reckon that can help. Okay, next question, Danny. What would you recommend for creativity and energy? Well, energy, you mean like having energy for life, for enthusiasm? Pretty much any bioenergetics is going to help with that. But I guess with creativity as well, shoulder exercises are good to free up the heart area, you know. I've got some on my website where I'm going to do a big video soon, hopefully before I go to Colourfest or maybe next week afterwards, going through about 8 or 9 different shoulder exercises. Because the big thing about the shoulders, apart from letting go of responsibility and a certain level of keeping your head down, low self-esteem, kind of hunched up shoulder kind of stuff, which is all very useful and vital, it also opens up the area at the back of the energetic heart, and that's where you know where creativity really comes from, and this feeling like, hey, I should run riot here, you know, which to me is the core of creativity, you know. A bottom line with creativity for me is feeling okay to just put something out, you know, whether it's a painting or whether you're just shooting your mouth off. You know, it's not being controlled by too much what they used to call in psychotherapy the super ego, you know, the authoritarian, the ego's own internal, usually from the parents or the society, you know, that tells you what the thou shalt nots, all that kind of stuff. Not feeling hindered by that, anyone will have natural creativity. So any level of bioenergetic exercises is going to help to take some of the repression out, but certainly getting your heart more open here will definitely help, you know, this feeling like, hey, I'm okay to be me. Hey, I'm okay to be me. I hope that helps, man. Lala Leka. Hi, Lala. Hi, Devaraj. Do you have any insights on feelings of neediness for romantic relationships? So, I mean, do you mean like needing to be in a relationship, or you're in a relationship and you feel very needy? But that could be useful to know. But certainly, you know, the thing with neediness is it's a bastard in some ways, because I've been extremely needy, and the trouble with it is it's not very sexy, you know. So if you're in a relationship, especially you're in the early phase of a relationship where you're trying to somewhere convince the other person that you're a cool guy or a cool lady to go out with, you know, suddenly feeling super needy often is perceived as quite a turn off. So, you know, that makes it tricky, you know. And often people who are very needy, they recognize this, you know, or they've had experience like this, and we try and hide the neediness. But actually, in my experience, everyone to a degree has got neediness, and you actually need to find a partner and be realistic about it, you know, where, you know, you can say, I'm feeling needy right now. You know, it's great to practice things like starting sentences with the words I need in your language, you know, whatever language you speak naturally, and start with I need, and start to say that even at work for things, you know, I need this. People avoid this expression. And then sometimes they're going around the mulberry bush, going around the houses. And it's good to say, I need. What I need is this. I need you to help me. Can you help me? Sentences where you put your heart a bit on the line. It's great to practice for guys and for girls. You know, it's great to practice being able to feel okay with being needy. You know, practicing it with people, starting to bring it into the conversation a little bit. What I need is, I need this, you know, and slowly you desensitize yourself to neediness, because everyone has needs. We're social beings, you know, we have needs. Feelings of acute neediness and insecurity, you know, you can work on with therapy, but basically at some level, yeah, you have to be willing to go into that stuff. You have to be willing to go into that stuff, and it's very intense. You may need to take it into therapy groups rather than put it on your relationship, because there's a kind of inbuilt expectation, you know, in the human psyche that our partner is just going to be there for us for everything. And it's a childlike expectation that usually comes from interruptions in early childhood, you know, which happen very easily, basically, because, you know, our parents, particularly in the Western world, well, all over the world, really, they don't necessarily give us the kind of childhood we need, the care and attention and love we need for the first few years, certainly to age 4 when the brain has matured a bit. And, you know, it's easy to get back in a childhood space. And when you're in the childhood space, you kind of expect, you know, the other person to just do everything for you, give it to you, and see what you need, you know, just see what you need without you having to ask. And the reason for that is because as a child, that's what it's like. As a child, you do need the parents to just give to you. And so when that doesn't happen, and you've gone back in childlike space, child mode as I call it in therapy, it's very common to believe that the other should really see you and understand what you're going through, and they're wrong if they don't do it. Space. If you're doing that at all, I'm not talking just about you personally, but about anybody, you know, who watches this, then, you know, if you're doing that, you need to come out of that and come into adult mode, work out what you need and learn to express it directly, you know, without a big charge, without an expectation the other's just going to give it to you. So I'm not sure if you've put, getting a few things backed up here, but I didn't hear any more from Lala. I hope that helps. And if you meant the feeling for romantic relationships, then yeah, that's good. You know, I mean, I think romantic relationships are good. You know, basically, I've been the last 20 years mostly in relationship. You know, mostly, I reckon 90% of the time. And I don't feel that's a bad thing at all. You know, I like romantic relationships. I think they're fucking great, basically. So, and it's nice to hear people ask these questions. I don't know, I'm figuring you're a girl, but, you know, guys don't ask those questions so much. So thank you for asking that. Okay. Hey, Dev, sometimes I get the idea that I'm doing it wrong or that it isn't working. Can you tell me something about that? Yeah, you know, I mean, often those kind of ideas that we always got it wrong, or, you know, it's kind of a default mode of the brain, come from the parents. Often the dad, you know, can be hypercritical, you know, not really giving enough praise. You know, mostly our parents don't know even basic psychology. You know, I mean, they don't know anything. You know, it's most modern psychology has come out of the last 20 years, to be honest. And, you know, even if you had super informed parents 20 years ago, you'd be lucky to find ones that are really, they know how to give praise and love to a kid so that we really feel like, hey, we did it, you know, not just, yeah, we fucked up again, or yeah, we got it right, but we didn't really get acknowledged. You know, it didn't, you know, it was just kind of a grunt somewhere in the background. So on a, you know, on a psychological level, that can be a big marker. And, you know, and, you know, it's okay to ask for praise. You know, it's also okay, or somewhere if you're in a workplace and no one's ever giving any praise, you know, to talk to the person that's running the place and see if you can introduce it a bit or something. You know, it's really useful. I mean, I live very much in the new age alternative scene, and they're really keen on praising people, and sometimes I find it a bit over the top, actually, but that may just be my personal psychological stuff. But also, you know, because I can function myself with not huge amounts of praise, but because I tend to just do more what I want. But it is really wonderful to be praised, and it is basically heart opening, and to feel that you're okay and that you're not automatically getting it wrong. Working with the shoulders can be good for feeling it's okay, you know. Sometimes we learn to keep our head down in life, you know, right from the parents. If there's a lot of RG aggression or violence or negativity flying around, we get one defense mechanism we might develop as a kid is just not to put our head up and say anything too risky. But it leaves us with not a satisfying life, and often low self-esteem, and very easily thinking we've done something wrong. You know, I always had a lot of guilt. You know, whenever something went wrong and someone was saying, you know, someone's fucked this up, or, you know, something bad's happened to me, the default thing for me was like, it was me, bound to have been me. And it would take a little while often before I would actually investigate to see how rational that was. You know, usually it wasn't anything to do with me, but it's bound to be me. It was my kind of default mode. Hey, Damien, hi. Thanks for your question. Hopefully I helped. If you need a bit more info, or you could be a bit more specific, then just go for it. Majed TV, hi Majed. I feel more and more that I live a wrong life. Any advice for following your own instincts instead of what your parents or other people want from you? It is also a risk. Yeah, you know, get in touch with what do you want? you know, and be prepared for a little bit of a journey with that. You know, of your intuition, what do you want and how can you move in that direction? It's very important, man. You can't live someone else's life. It's not going to support you, you know. And you need to, bioenergetics is a huge support. Especially the belly center is a huge support, because when you have your awareness back in your belly, and that can be a journey, because people in my experience are something like 99% out of there. You know, when you're back in your belly, somewhere you feel, hey, I have the right. You know, I have the right to be me. You know, and a lot of people on the planet, they don't feel that. They don't feel they have the right to be themselves. You know, it's fucking bad news. But the bottom line is they have to also take a position now to come back and get it, you know. So just do it, man. Just do it is the only thing I can say to you, you know. Don't just live your life according to what your parents or other people or what you perceive society is wanting from you. You know, sometimes the parents are very clear what they want from you, you know. I know a lot of young guys from Indian background, you know, being in the UK and working in the scene I am, and often the parents have a very heavy expectation that the son or the daughter, you can be a lawyer or a doctor, or, you know, a lawyer or a doctor, you know, that's good, or maybe an accountant or an architect, you know, and those are about your only 2-3 options, you know, that's all you've got. And then, you know, it's really clear that's what the parental expectation is, and you have to jump away from that unless that's what you want. Sometimes with people who've got this, you know, they say there's a lot of expectation from society or the parents. When they go deeper into it, they're not even clear what their parents actually want, you know. And finally, on a deep level, your parents will like it if you're happy. You know, I was in a little bit different position. Me and my brother and sister were all adopted kids, and there was a lot of, you know, craziness in the family without going too deep into it. And, you know, my siblings had substance issues, and myself as well, and crime issues. And I think at some point our parents just gave up. Basically, my adoptive parents just gave up. And even though they had judgments about stuff, when I started to do therapy and groups and live in an alternative commune, it's probably a lot better than anything they were getting out of the other siblings or me from before. So, you know, I didn't have to go. But I recognize somewhere parents can see when you're happy. You know, maybe it's a bit of a journey. You're going to do groups or, you know, really work on yourself for a year or two. But somewhere, if you make yourself happy by going for what you want, your parents will also see that and somewhere respect you, you know. And sometimes they push because they want you to stand up to them, even if they don't know they're pushing for that reason. Sometimes they're giving you a hard time and actually want you to say, Dad, I'm my own man now. You know, stop with this, stop with this. I respect you, I love you, you know, give them good stuff, but I'm living my own life now. That's how it is. Get used to it. You know, you got to lay it on the line without being too mean, or you'll end up feeling, you know, like you've like bad about it, and you end up recanting and whatever. Okay, hope that's helpful for you, Majed. When I do bio, I notice I can't breathe fully into my stomach or my chest. The feeling is being frozen. How do I break through this frozen layer? I feel like walking on tiptoes and rolling the shoulders. Let's walk on tiptoes and rolling the shoulders. Yeah, I mean, it's very, very common, you know. I had years of myofascial release. About 5 years ago, I was receiving that from a guy in Glastonbury, a very good guy called Andy Scott, and that helped me break through. And then after that, I started to do more bioenergetics and belly work in particular. But it's quite a journey. You know, I recommend groups. If you can get yourself to workshops, like if you're in the UK, or you can come for a 2 or 3 day workshop I'm running, I recommend it, because then you're in a, you know, you can make a breakthrough in that space. It's not impossible by any means, but it is harder to make a real breakthrough. You know, when you've got stuck at a certain layer and you know there's more, you know it's frustrating and you want to go deeper, it is easier in a workshop situation with someone over it, kind of driving you forwards in a good way, you know, feeling where you're at. So that's what I recommend if there's any possibility to do it. Otherwise, just keep working on a gut level. You know, that's the thing that's going to slowly bring more air into your belly. When you're breathing lower down, you can really feel your belly, you know. You feel like an animal when you want to, you know. It's a good feeling. And it's not the only feeling in the repertoire of human feelings, but it's good to be able to access that. You know, something I started to teach a bit towards men and women is like, you know, if you're a guy, you know, develop your male side first. You know, if you're a woman, develop your female side first, and when you feel confident with that, fool around, do what you like. You know, a guy can be totally feminine, but if you're a guy and you just want to be feminine all the time, it's probably not going to work. And there's nothing wrong with being a guy and being feminine. I think it's totally fine and it's great. But, you know, somewhere you were born male, and yeah, there are discrepancies in the amino acid development and stuff. Someone explained it to me, or I read about it once, and you can be a bit half and half or whatever. But your fundamental genitals are likely orientated in one direction, and you need to develop that side first, in my opinion. You know, and then, you know, that's not to, you know, not to say that the opposite side is negative, the other gender is negative, but get that first, and then look at developing, you know, if you're a guy, developing your female side. Anyway, let's go, man. Yeah, hi, man. More and more, I feel like I cannot suppress it any longer, and life is a wrong life. My feelings tell me, wake up, man, this is not what you're supposed to be doing. But my mind still interferes. Yeah, it will. Mind always wants stasis, and it will allow a little bit of change here and there. But, you know, you know, the best thing you can do, man, is get yourself to some decent workshops where you've got a good bit of challenge there and a good workshop leader who can help you, you know. And, you know, otherwise you've got to learn to really be vigilant and to keep on yourself with stuff, with exercises, you know, and something you can get from a workshop. You know, find one where you're going to learn exercises you can take back at home and keep moving with it. And find a way, you know, write stuff out that you can do to move yourself in a good direction. Don't just leave it to your mind in the moment, you know, to wake up and move yourself in a good direction. Sit down, give yourself space for half an hour to write out stuff that you want to do, and make it tangible, you know, make it rational, make it measurable, you know, so that you can't easily swerve it, you know. Write out, you know, what's the first step. You know, maybe you want to have a different lifestyle and you want to be a teacher or something. What's the first steps you can make? Write them out, basically. And then stick with it, you know. And if you still can't do it, you need to pay money and go to workshops. Only way, you know. Lala, it did help. Thank you, Devaraj. Thank you, Lala. It is so true that I just go into child mode. It is just a feeling of yearning for another person in the heart. Well, you know, if you know, wanting another person is okay. You know, it's really, I think it's really okay. Personally, you know, I mean, we are human social beings, and it's really okay to want someone else in your life that can give it to you. So, you know, it's like, for me, in fact, my initial impulse to do therapy 20 years ago was because I hadn't had a girlfriend for about 10 years. I figured I was such a waster and so fucked up, and women weren't stupid, they could see this, and so they were keeping a wide berth, you know, or maybe I'd get really drunk at some party or pub and meet some woman and we'd end up in bed together, and she'd also be totally wasted. If we weren't utterly repulsed by each other the next morning, we might embark on some doomed relationship. But that's, you know, it wasn't really a very satisfying time. And so I started to do groups because I wanted to get some, you know, wanted to get girlfriends again, get other people in my life. So, you know, I don't know if you have judgments about that yearning, but I think it's really okay. I think it's really okay. Okay, Mohammed, thank you for this life. I am the boss in work, but I don't really feel that. I'm too nice. Any advice to take my position without fear or anxiety? You have to practice. You have to practice, Mohammed. You know, it's like, you know, if you can come to workshops, great. Workshops where you have to be pushed into the nasty side, into the anger in particular. When you feel confident with anger to really be in a workshop, super angry and screaming and putting it out, you'll feel much more confident just to state simple boundaries or give people instruction, you know, and it'll be much easier, and people will just respect you, you know. You know, and you just have to practice taking a position and breathing and feeling your body while you do it, you know. Again, the belly exercises will help. The belly exercises will help. I hope that helps. Let's have a look how we're getting here. Okay, I think it's Damien. You're definitely right. It has to do with my childhood and father. What do you recommend for dealing with the idea that I'm doing it wrong and to start giving myself praise? Okay, the idea that I'm doing it wrong. Okay, the main thing I think is I just go back to my own experience, because I had a lot of similar stuff, a little bit different but very similar. One thing is to keep on checking in with your objectivity, you know, your rational mind. Am I actually doing it wrong, you know? Or am I just kind of going down that road in my mind on a kind of default mode, you know? And then then give yourself praise, and also look for, maybe you've got someone in your life who could praise you. Say, just go to them and say, I'm working on giving myself more praise and getting more praise from people. And can I give you praise for something and you give me praise for something? You can do this stuff. I guess growing up in the 60s and 70s, in Essex and London, stuff like that wasn't really okay. But I think these days it's really okay. Well, that's how I feel. That's how I feel it. If you're doing, if your mind's on an autopilot but you're doing it wrong, you've got to get a little bit rational with it and say, is that true? And if it's not true, you've just got to let it. You can't really push it away. Now, to go deeper into it, there may be an energetic charge in the system which is supporting that mental track. And using bioenergetics or emotional expression, going to workshops like this, you can take that charge out of the body, wherever it is, and then your mind won't have quite such a tendency to drive down that road. I'm doing it wrong again, I'm the bad guy, or whatever. But your mind still will go there, but then you just have to let it go there, but not pay too much attention to it. Some people try and push constant thought patterns away. It never really works in my experience. Sometimes it's what we want to do. You have to accept that the thought is there. The negativity is there. But you don't have to follow it. You don't have to buy it. Okay, here comes Mr. Negative giving it to me again. But you don't have to buy it. You don't have to. You have the power to say, okay, negative thought, you're coming. And now you're going off. And I'm going to be positive about this. Actually, I feel good about this thing that I've done. I've done it good. I hope that helps, man. Okay, Majed. Death, Tupac Shakur. Okay, yeah, death is not the greatest loss in life. The greatest loss is what dies inside while still alive. Yeah, in many ways. Never surrender. I don't know about never surrender. In some ways, on a deeper level, life is a type of surrender, but the rest of it, I would go with. I see in many people, who are successful in life, on the outside, they have actually, if not died inside, but they've given up on their heart's desire, and they've just become very effective at doing stuff to make money, and they're being driven around inside a Mercedes E-Class 500 or whatever, the full works, and it all looks super successful, but inside, yeah, they're miserable as sin. And not everyone driving around in those vehicles at the top of companies is miserable, but there are a lot of people out there like that. And yes, death is not the worst thing you can face. Okay, guys. Yeah, Mohammed, thank you, man. Thanks for the questions. And anyone else who wants to follow up on one of these questions, I'm going to do about another 7-8 minutes tonight. So if you've got something you want to ask, just feel free to put it out. I'm just flicking to see if I've missed something out on my phone. Yeah, child mode. Child mode is a popular thing for me to write about a little bit and also speak about this kind of child mode, and it's very understandable, because in the first 4 years we are so dependent. It's a characteristic of human beings in particular that we have these frontal lobes that are relatively new evolutionary development, and they take a long time to develop. So you're in your womb for 9 months in your mum, you come out, but they still need to develop for quite a few years before they're really functioning. And in that time, you need a lot of gentleness, you need to be really protected and taken care of. So you have a genetically based expectation for the care to come from the outside, And then when this kind of, if that doesn't come from the outside like that, and you're left a bit to fend for yourself here and there, or you don't get the love, you don't get what you need, which is most people's experience, frankly, 99.99% of people's experience in reality, then these interruptions and these failures of expectation are stored energetically in the body as a charge. And, when that is activated, and it often is in certain situations, we find ourselves thinking like this child again. The sure way to spot it is that we feel like the other person should just see what we need. The other person should just see what we need, and we shouldn't have to say anything. That's guaranteed, absolute predictor for child mode. So when you see that in your life, you could even sit down and look, if you're interested, and just look, where in my life do I think this person should just see me? where in my life am I withholding from this person out of some kind of resentment or something, and find a way to go and talk to them, you know, and ask for what you want. Hey guys, thank you for the appreciation. Yup. All good. Cool. Okay, we've got another 5 minutes or so. Domingo. Hi, Domingo. I think you've been on this channel a few times. Nice to hear from you again, man. One question: when I do the bow, I have a lot of pain below my chest, top of the diaphragm. Okay. Indeed, during the day, I notice that the block in that area, which limits my breathing and affects digestion. Any advice? So we're doing a bow exercise, and you're getting a pain. Well, it does stretch the whole area of the sternum, diaphragm, gut, and that. If you've got a lot of pain there, the first thing I would probably do is just check it out a little bit with a doctor, that there's nothing damaged there. I don't know if you have anything like your ribs. If it's quite I'm assuming it's quite a physical pain. You know, limits my breathing, affects digestion. There's quite a lot of that about, I think. You know, if it's like a feeling around here, something blocked around the gut. Breathing and feeling into it. Sometimes you can try stuff like some form of throat release, like throat gag reflex. 2 fingers down, wash your fingers, 2 fingers down the throat, tickle the back of it behind here, inside, until you start to gag reflex. You know, burping or getting your throat moving on something. I burp like crazy, you know, especially when doing sessions, you know. And, you know, it really helps, you know, it can help to open up the throat, open up the gut, basically. Assuming it's not, you know, feel free to check in with your doctor or something like that. Assuming it's not a physical problem and it's more of an energetic kind of block that's creating a tension there, you just need to keep working with it, but in a gentle way. It's probably with your gut not good to push too much, but rather have gently sustained workshops and look for anything that might be helping in an exercise that might, you know, be improving it. You know, and keep your attention on it. And something you can also do is to just sit and really be tranquil for a little while. Take 5 minutes to really chill out, breathe, and feel your body. Tune into the block, feel into it with your eyes closed, and start to ask it what's going on. Ask it what it wants. Don't just dismiss it. That's a great way in. A lot of people won't do it, especially guys, especially more rational people, totally won't do it. But in my experience, it can be very useful. And it gives you some information. The first thing that comes up is usually the start of a thread that can lead somewhere. And you can unravel that in therapy, or you can unravel it in your own, you know, practices. But it may relate. A lot of parts of our body protest, you know. They protest that they're not getting something or whatever. And they create pain, or they create something because they want more attention. Like little kids, you know, where the mind gets very much in control up here and the rest of the body wants to be felt, you know. And we've decamped. Sometimes this pain is the first sign. It's saying, I want some bloody attention. And it's good that it actually comes. So hopefully those ideas help you, Domingo. Cheers, man. Carlos. Started with Bioenergetics some weeks ago. Cool. Most of the time, no feeling emerges, no anger, sadness, love, no intense feelings. Just keeping it further. Thank you. Blockage is great. Cool. Well, the thing that's interesting about Bioenergetics is that you don't always go back into the feelings so strongly. But usually what does happen over time is you feel more open, and you feel more, the feelings get triggered more easily. For someone who's been blocking anger for a long time, they start to do bio, then sometimes, you know, the slightest little things are triggering them like fuck, you know, and it's quite a bit scary for them. So I don't know if that's happening at all. If nothing's happening, I would keep doing the exercises and make sure you're really, you see, people say intensify or to do the thing longer. And what I see when I'm running workshops a lot is that people aren't adequately breathing and feeling the body. So sometimes it's good to go back to the beginning, you know, and really start with something like the bow and the arch on a 2 or 3 minute, if you can do 2 or 3 minutes up and down, and really make sure you're breathing and you're feeling the body. I did a little video the other week, bow and arch masterclass. You can track that down. And check that you're really feeling what's going on in your body and you're breathing, you know. Breathe to the max, through the throat. Try and breathe and feel your belly while you breathe as much as you can. Feel your body while you're doing the exercise. So sometimes people are pushing a lot from the mind, and that's not really what bio is about. You know, at the gym or even doing yoga, you can do that. But with bio, you don't do that. Yes, it's intense and you're on the edge of your comfort zone, but then you really try and bring your awareness into your body, breathe and feel. That's the key. That's a big key. So, you know, if, you know, you're finding that you're not getting more open, the feeling of openness, because you don't always get tons of feelings doing bio. Sometimes you do. You don't always get them. But your body can open without that sometimes. But your body should feel more open. That means you just feel more open after doing it. And if it's not, then try to breathe and feel more with it. And if you get a chance, come to a workshop. Got loads of workshops. Got a few workshops coming up in the UK, and some 2 or 3 day ones. Spiritual boot camp comes up the end of June. I've still got places on that. I'm only going to take about 15, maybe 20 on that, and I've got a few spaces left. So it's quite reasonably priced. And, you know, it's worthwhile flying in from Europe or something like that. Quite a few people flying in because it's going to be an awesome workshop and you will get a lot of support. Okay, also I've got something coming up in August here, residential as well. Domingo again. It is physical. However, I'm aware about the emotional blockage present because lately a lot of crying, quite a lot of feeling this block there. Thanks, Fo. That's cool to know, man. Keep on feeling it and keep on getting into it. Okay, last questions now. How to activate my manly energy? Comes from your gut, man. Comes from your gut. You know, if you've been born male, then it's fine to go into your feminine side, but first get into your male side. If you're born female, I say first get into your female side and then go for the male side if you wanted to make it, because we are both anyway. You got to feel your belly, man, and you got to get down here, lower in your gut, and you need to practice, dedicate time to exercises, be willing to come and do a workshop that focuses on that kind of work. You know, most of my workshops are focusing on that. You can message me privately. I can recommend something. Be willing to get it, because with a workshop you can kickstart it and get it going, you know, and then you've got yourself entrapped in some good practices, and then you can move forward. Okay, I'm going to let this live stream go at this point, and I'll be back next Tuesday. I gonna have some food and hang out. So thank you all for tuning in, and thanks for your appreciation, and see you next time. Good luck with it, guys. Remember, keep going with it. Just do it and don't buy too much negativity from the old mind, you know. Let it have its little spiel. Blah, blah, it's not working. This is not working. And let it go. Keep breathing and keep feeling and keep staying on the edge of your comfort zone. You can do it. Bye for now.